Excellencies, distinguished delegates and guests, thank you so much for attending the Symposium on Tourism Resilience Summit. Now we would like to start this symposium with an opening remark by Mr. Tsuyoshi Murakami, Special Representative for Tourism Policy Research and International Affairs, Japan Tourism Agency. So, Mr. Murakami, please proceed to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for the introduction. This is Tsuyoshi Murakami, Director for Tourism Policy Research, the Japan Tourism Agency. I would like to say a few words for the opening of the Tourism Resilience Symposium. I believe it is very significant to have a forum for public-private discussions on the tourism resilience organized today. I would like to take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to the UN Tourism Regional Support Office for Asia and Pacific, including Director Mr. Hompo, the UN Tourism Headquarters, Moderator Mr. Takamatsu for their efforts in organizing this symposium, and all the people who have come from all over Japan and around the world. In Japan, tourism is positioned as a pillar supporting economic growth, and we have been working to expand domestic and international tourism exchanges. The number of foreign visitors to Japan in 2024 is expected to reach a record high, and inbound tourism demand continues to be very strong. In the global trend, tourism exchanges are expected to become even more active, playing a major role in the economy and society. On the other hand, as you know, Japan has suffered enormous damage from disasters caused by natural hazards affecting tourism, such as the Great East Japan earthquake in 2011 and the Noto Peninsula earthquake occurred January this year. In addition, tourism demand dropped sharply around the world due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And these experiences have brought renewed awareness of the vulnerability of the tourism sector to external factors. As we work towards achieving sustainable development goals, tourism resilience is extremely important agenda. I believe that the topics to be discussed at the panel discussions today, preparing for crisis and preparing for business continuity and recovery after a crisis, are essential perspectives in aiming to enhance tourism resilience. With moderator Mr. Takamatsu, I would like to ask all the panelists from various perspectives, including businesses, industry associations, and government agencies, to discuss measures and initiatives to overcome such crises. In addition, tomorrow, the countries of the Asia-Pacific region will be gathered in one place to hold a ministerial meeting to discuss the status of tourism resilience. So I hope that the discussions at this symposium and in ministerial meeting will be a great opportunity for national and local government and the private sector to come together and further promote tourism resilience efforts. Finally, I sincerely hope that this symposium will be a meaningful one for all of you gathering here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Murakami. Next, Dr. Dirk Glasser, Director of Sustainable Tourism and Resilience Department at UN Tourism, will also give an opening remark. So, Dr. Glasser, if you please.
So thank you very much for convening this meeting. This is a very important move to put resilience on the global agenda and to make us in the tourism sector reflect on this concept. This is, for me, a very important moment to come also back to Sendai. After about 9 years ago, we gathered here in Sendai for the creation of the framework and the integration of the very first concept of tourism into this framework. You might not recall that, but I was here, and I had a very difficult time back then to integrate the logic of resilience and tourism into this larger world of disaster management. Now, seeing 9 years after that, here a discussion at this level being convened gives me satisfaction, and I hope all of us inspiration. I wanted to use the few minutes I have here at the beginning to share some also personal thoughts on the subject, as natural disasters and negative events can lead to crisis, can lead to disaster, but not necessarily they do have to. It is the way how we prevent and manage negative events which very much determines whether they have a smaller or a larger impact on the economy and societies. This is very important when we are reflecting now on different concepts, share experiences, that we recognize the importance of prevention. In my personal experience, I have seen so many people coming to me once something happened. And then they asked us, can you please train us on crisis management? And that is the moment when I definitely said, yes, we can, but it will not serve. We have to talk about these concepts when we are actually not in a modus of recovering from a crisis. And that is what I thank you for having convened us here to reflect in the tourism sector on that. It is prevention, thinking about the structures, the responsibilities, the accountabilities, the training, which makes us prevent that a negative event turns into something more devastating. Some of you who have Googled me might have realized that I did focus in my academic life on crisis management in the tourism sector many, many years ago, when that actually was not so much on vogue for the tourism sector, when the technique in the tourism sector, especially the industry, was that we looked away when something went wrong because the demand was so strong that we had a thumb rule. After 6 months, the sector will have recovered in that specific region because people would simply have forgotten about what had happened and would have blamed that on media. But it is our responsibility, and later on in my organization, UN Tourism, we created this responsibility as a department, Risk and Crisis Management, and there we worked first under the impression of SARS and then of tsunami and other enormous challenges at the global level, at operational, but also at strategic level. And that is what still brings me then to the forefront of these discussions. Now in the area of sustainability, I'm leading this area now for 10 years. We at the beginning haven't seen the same links, but now we see them, that sustainability is intrinsically linked to resilience. We have seen that during the COVID pandemic. when most people have seen that only as a public health emergency, but those with deeper knowledge would have linked the origins of the pandemic to climate change, the loss of biodiversity, and actually would have seen that the areas we are discussing in the field of sustainability are the same fields which are driving public health emergencies and other natural disasters. So sustainability is actually, for us, not a cost. It's an investment into resilience. And I just want to close these opening remarks by looking together with you into the future so that we understand why this discussion here today is so important for the future. The dimensions we just heard of tourism, of international tourism, are already very large. We speak about 1.8 billion international tourist arrivals by the year 2030, and it will be more. It will be 2 billion. But we forget very often to see over here the domestic dimension of tourism and same-day visitors, and then we realize that our world right now is embracing the concept of mobility of tourism. By the year 2030, we estimate that 37 billion trips will take place on this planet, domestic, same-day visitors, and international visitors. And if you just see this dimension, which shows that 3 to 4 arrivals will take place on this planet per person living on this planet, then you understand how important it is that we take care of what we consider to be a sector with resilience at global level, but where we know that at the local level there's high volatility. We have to make sure that prevention is at the forefront of our thinking, and that crisis management, that recovery actually should be avoided as much as possible. With these words, I want to help to steer our discussion today and tomorrow, and I want to encourage you with these personal reflections to think how important, although we speak about something negative, how important that is for a bright future of the sector, a resilient future of our sector, a resilient future for our societies. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Glasser. Now we would like to introduce Mr. Shinichi Takahashi, Vice Mayor of City of Sendai, Japan, for the greeting from the host city. So Mr. Takahashi, if you please.
I am Shinichi Takahashi, Vice Mayor of Sendai City. I'd like to welcome you on behalf of the mayor and the people of the host city. I first would want to extend our warm gratitude to World Trade Organization for organizing this symposium, and to the dear presenters, panelists, and dear guests who travel from overseas. Welcome to Sendai is the first message I'd like to extend to you. It is a pleasure to host you here at Sendai, where a reconstruction journey from the East Japan earthquake is happening right now, and to learn more about tourism resilience together with all of you. The East Japan earthquake of 2011 left us with tremendous damages here, but we are well on the reconstruction process thanks to heartfelt support from all over the world. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you all. We have learned a lesson from the disaster that preparation does matter to be ready for natural hazards and the world with many changes. our city has committed to become a disaster prevention city after the earthquake. So we can grow sustainably with resiliency to hazards by working closely with different stakeholders to further develop the city and its people. We also strongly believe that tourism industry deserves more enhancement of sustainability and resiliency in order to attract more people to come and visit the city. I strongly and sincerely wish today's symposium will give us an opportunity to identify not only emerging issues, but also the potential solution to them by discussing further to tourism industry together with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Takahashi. Next, Dr. Yuki Matsuoka, Head, COVID Office, the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, will give a keynote speech. So, Dr. Matsuoka, please proceed to the stage.
Good
afternoon, everybody. I am Yuki Matsuoka. I am the UN DRR's head office. And now, every time I come to this hall, this is very impressive because it was back in 2013, 11 March 13. It was like at nighttime at a conference where we had the UNDRR, where the framework for the disaster reduction was giving birth. UNDRR, my UN organization, is also the secretariat for the framework for Sendai. And where we are basically coordinating, promoting that framework. That is the responsibility of UNDRR. Today, I'd like to talk about resilience improvement for the Earth and what we have been doing in Sendai framework, as well as what it can have on resiliency to tourism. Because having a resiliency to the disasters and hazards is critical. And what is pushing that forward is the Sendai framework of disaster reduction. Now, for the Sendai's framework, there were a few things I'd like to remind you, and I would like to go through some of the important highlights about that framework in the keynote speech. And toward the end of the keynote speech, I'd like to transform the framework from the eyeglasses, the lenses of tourism resiliencies. It's a very high level because the time is quite limited, but I'd like to share those perspectives with all of you. Now we are going to be having, as I understand, 2 panel sessions being scheduled. I'm sure we'll be learning specific examples, different initiatives, and there are going to be presentations from panelists and going to be panel discussions. But I hope this is going to be a good introduction as to touch bases about what's in it about Sendai framework. Now, first off, let me just talk about when we discuss about disaster, there are disasters coming from more frequent, more severe damages happening from climate change, extreme weather over the last few years. UNDRR, to the disaster and natural hazard, we also do a lot of analysis and reports together with working with many different international research organizations. Let me just pick one of the examples about that from 1980 to 1999. In that 20 years versus 2019, if we compare these two sets of 20 years, the numbers of disasters, death, mortality, economic loss in those two sets of 20s, every single one of the indices are going up. This is the fact of the Earth that we are living in today, just as an introduction. And when we are trying to reduce the disaster impact, and when we discussed about the resilience to the hazards, there were very important starting point. One is disaster doesn't come natural. Disaster are not natural is the message. Of course, natural hazard? Yes, there are hazards caused by nature, whether it's about earthquake, eruption, volume, a cyclone, typhoon. These are the hazards caused by natural forces. We cannot stop that from happening, but there was some vulnerability in society or exposure from within the society could trigger disaster. By the way, exposure is levels of how much we are at the risk of those impacts. There was vulnerability and exposures within our society, and vulnerability and exposure may go up with the against the natural hazards. Therefore, the disaster risk go up. Therefore, natural hazard multiplied with the vulnerability and exposure could potentially increase the impact and the risk from disaster. That's what we always talk about, right? Because when hazard happens, what is important? The other side of the equation, because vulnerability and exposure comes with the essences of society, economics, environmental. There are many different elements within our society. Now, within that, disaster risk reduction, DRR, and how do we be going to be building resilience against those hazards, or resilience to not to have disaster? This is before hazard happens. How can we minimize the risk of disaster? And also, when the natural hazard happens, can we minimize the impact of the disaster? So the methods, policy, or actions to manage that is basically the building of resiliency under DRR framework. And of course, it's also about the reconstruction process, recovery process as us after the event happens. It's not rebuilding what is before. In order to minimize the risks, we learned the hard lesson by then, right? Therefore, having a better recovery journey is going to be very important when we recover. And also, prevention of disaster is not cost, it's an investment. Investment for better resiliency. I like to emphasize on that point. Under Sendai framework, scope of hazard is expanded under it's adopted. Natural hazard, by the way, it's not only natural hazard. Infectious disease or pandemic, biological hazards are also covered in the scope, or man-made hazard is also being covered in the scope. So the scope of hazards are much wider in this framework, and we are talking about Sendai DRR framework is very useful instrument in reducing the risks and minimizing the impact from the bigger scope of the hazard. Before talking about Sendai DRR framework, I'd like to also talk about the journey we took about DRR in Japan. So the one in 2015 was number 3. The first one was actually held in 1994 in the city of Yokohama. The second one is back in 2005, held in Kobe city of Hyogo Prefecture. Finally, 2015, the DRR in all of the three meeting was hosted in Japan. This is a UN discussion, UN symposium. So Japanese government is very much committed about the promoting the discussion of DRR. This is one demonstration about that. We started from framework in Yokohama, shifted to Hyogo framework, finally to Sendai framework. This is the journey in which, or the agenda in which Japan has been engaged with the UN. Now, the Sendai framework comes with the 25 pages in document. This is high-level highlights. So first is the expected outcome was first being displayed, and then we have goals. Goals come with 7 different global targets, and there are 4 priorities for action, followed by roles of stakeholders by being defined, and then followed by highlighting the importance of international collaborations. That's the setup for this Sendai framework. Now, one of the keywords there were 3 keywords about framework: resilience, building resiliency, as well as the inclusive approach of inclusiveness is also important, and also engaging with the entire society. Sendai framework is being built together with the membership countries of the UN, but the members, we are specifying it is the responsibility of national government to build this framework into implementing this nation. Therefore, building resilience is also responsibility of the states. There are many different participants today, I understand. So for those of you, for all of you, you will have each role as the members of the nation, and to make a contribution to this framework, building better resiliency. I'd like to also talk about a little more detail. Before talking about details of the framework, let me just talk about what we do at UNDRR. UNDRR is the Office for Disaster Risk Reduction in the UN, promoting, engaging, or also we are medium in promoting the discussion about disaster risk reduction. And today, Sendai's DRR framework implementation is like we are the office for promoting the implementation. We are also monitoring the tracking progresses. Headquarters in Geneva, and Japan office where I belong to. We do have a Kobe office. That is office for Japan. Now, the other side of the UNDRR's responsibility is also working as a medium to make this discussion the mainstream. This can be like there might be development activities, human rights promotion, or health, environment, education. There are many different functions within the United Nations, but we would like to bring this DRR topic as a mainstream discussions in different functions. Therefore, we are medium in which to promote in discussion in different functions of UN. Now, the Sendai framework in 2015, shortly after was being adopted, we wanted to bring into the UN entire engagement. Therefore, so 40 of UN organizations come together under this initiative. United Nations Plan of Action for Disaster Risk Reduction and Resilience is the name of it. And the Sendai framework is also, of course, the part of it. Now, this is about Sendai framework.
少し申し上げましたが、
So, as I mentioned, there are 7 global targets, and 4 are target for reduction, and 3 is for increasing. First one is reductions of the mortality, and the next one is a reduction of affected people, and reduction of economic loss. And number 4 is reduction of damage to critical infrastructure and disruption of the basic services. And we have 3 targets for increase. First one is increase countries with national and local DRR strategy. Next one is increase international cooperation to developing countries. And number 3 is an increase on availability and access to multi-hazard early warning system and disaster information and assessment. Last year, we have come to the mid-year of this target, and for those 7 targets, we have conducted assessment on progress. So, Sendai framework for DRR has not been on track. For example, if you look at those 7 targets, 3 we see significant progress. Actually, 3 goals we get worse. One can see the reduction in mortality. Here we see a great improvement. And also the early warning system, so multi-hazard early warning system has been penetrating to different countries. Because of this, we see the reduction of the mortality from disasters. However, if you look at the number of the people affected, that is growing actually. And if you look at the direct economic loss, that is also increasing. And also damage to critical infrastructure and disruption of the basic services. Those are not achieved. Those are not the goals which we are not on track to achieving it. And in 2015, there are 55 countries now have the DRR strategies. That's grown to the 125 countries in 2022, and also the Waste Council multi-hazard early warning system. There are only 47 countries adopted this in 2015. That's grew to 95 countries in 2022. However, this system has not been well introduced in the LDCs and the SIDS. So 2/3 of those countries don't have the multi-hazard early warning system. This is a global challenge. And then in 2022, the Secretary General of the UN took an initiative to promote this multi-hazard early warning that is called the Early Warnings for All Initiative, and UNDRR and WMO are taking a lead for this initiative. And our target is to cover all countries on the globe with this multi-hazard early warning system. And then these are 4 priorities for actions from the framework for DLR. Priority 1 is understanding disaster risk. First, you need to understand risk in order to take effective measures. Therefore, this is very important. And priority 2 is strengthening disaster risk governance to manage disaster risk. This is about the policy. Therefore, national government and local government are responsible for this priority. And priority 3 is investing in disaster risk reduction for resilience. So investment into hardware as well as the hardware as well as software perspective. And also priority 4, that is enhancing disaster preparedness for effective response and to build back better. So in Sendai framework for a DLR, that was, as I mentioned, adopted in 2015 at this conference hall. And in the same year, this was adopted by the UN member state at the UN Assembly. It means that all member states of the UN are required to implement a Sendai framework. And so, as I mentioned, there are 4 priorities in this framework. And now I'd like to take a look at those 5 priorities from the perspective of tourism resilience. For example, first one is understanding disaster risk. Of course, first you need to understand the risk of disaster. Otherwise, you can't take effective measures. Therefore, it is very important to have good analysis of data. You need to first collect, analyze, and manage and utilize relevant data. Here, we need to involve in academics as well. In panel discussion, we're going to listen to a presentation from Tohoku University. So internationally, they call evidence-based policy making. That means we need to make a decision based on data scientifically. That is very important. So here, academic field plays very important role. Based on that, trainings and education should be provided. And priority 2 is about risk governance. So from viewpoint of tourism resilience, it's about tourism administration, tourism policies. Local governments play a major role here, creating standard manual and guideline, promoting those, and also some other supporting structures. So that is very important from governance perspective. And also the place where the administrators can coordinate with other stakeholders, and also collaboration and cooperation among different sectors. Those must be established. And the next one is about investment into disaster risk reduction for resilience. When it's kind of the hardware, of course, for tourists and operators, like hotels and transportation, tourism facilities and restaurants and others, there are many different sectors in tourism. Therefore, buildings and equipment and communication, water supply, electricity, and power source. So investment into those and hardware is very important. And also, you must be actively take advantage of the technology and system, and also training and education. And priority 4, this is about preparedness for effective response. Here you have to secure the shelters, and you have to stockpile the supplies for the case of disaster. And when it comes to the tourism sectors, you need to also respond to the tourists who are traveling in your region when disaster hit. And also, build back better is very important in the tourism perspective as well. So these are keywords. So once again, in Sendai framework for for DRR. So this is a comprehensive framework for those 4 priorities. And thinking about tourism resilience, these 4 priorities are the basic, based on which you must have comprehensive perspective. And also the post-incident response. Rather than post-incident, you need to make an investment into resilience before a disaster takes place. That is very important. And also, you must have the shared responsibility among different stakeholders, and you need to engage society as a whole. That is very important. And also, when it comes to decision making, you must rely on science and technology, and also outcome of research. That is an evidence-based decision making. And also, you must have the comprehensive approach, leave no one behind, and also the collaboration among public, private, and industry and academic. And then you have to make an investment into resilience. So once you achieve this, this will lead to a good reputation as a tourist destination. And also through tourism and tourism resources, you are able to improve resilience of the society as a whole. And also you can foster the culture through the tourism industry perspective as well. So today I talked based on the title, which is for the improvement of the global resilience, implementation of Sendai framework, and tourism resilience, because the tourism sector is very important in improving the resilience in society. And through travel, you learn new things and you experience new things by traveling. So those who come to Tohoku, they can learn about DRR in Tohoku. So tourism sector is very important to establish better resilience. That is my message to you. And also, the Sendai framework for DRR is your tool. So this is not something that somebody else made. That is your tool. So I hope you feel closer to this framework. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Matsuoka.
松子先生ありがとうございました。
So now we would like to move on to panel session 1. The panel session 1, Preparing for Tourism Crisis to Ensure Safety and Security of Tourists at the Event of Crisis, will now commence. The moderator of this session is Mr. Masato Takamatsu, President of Tourism Resilience Japan. So now I would like to ask Mr. Takamatsu to moderate the session, so please take the stage.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you very much for introduction. My name is Masato Takamatsu. There are going to be 2 sessions in which both of which I would like to be I will take an honor to be a moderator. Thank you very much.
このシンポジウムが仙台で開かれるというのは観光レジリエンスを考えるで非常に意味が深い。
It is very significant to discuss the tourism resilience in Sendai. Just looking back, the first recovery initiative after the 2011 earthquake, we had a conference already on the same year, and also the March 2012 WTTC International Conference was organized. There, tourism resilience was discussed.
の基調講演にもあり
And as Matsuoka-san had said in keynote speech, now framework, the Sendai framework of DRR, right? This is globally known. If you hear Sendai as the keyword, I know that's the framework for disaster reduction, isn't it? So this is like the capital, I would say, for resilience. And in that exactly the same land, we are finally coming together again to discuss about the tourism resilience. I think this is such an amazing and wonderful opportunity. Now, in this panel discussion, we would be discussing about two panels sessions we would like to have discussions with. The first panel will discussion about the direct author, the audience of that, the travelers and the tourists, and as well as the people who are under hazard. How can we make sure we give a safety to them? They may be very concerned, worried about, especially if you are tourists, because you do not know how this community or this geography works. And we will discuss about how we can better prepare for that. In another the panel discussion, we'll discuss about economical or commercial impacts, tourism operators, or community, or the tourism industry for the community as a whole, or society, the local community as a whole. How can we recover back from the impact of hazard? What are the preparations that we can do to make sure we make tourism industry more sustainable and be able to bring it back to normalcy as quickly as possible? And those are the topics in which we'd like to have discussion on panels. Now, so the tourism crisis management as well as tourism resiliency is not only for business to play. The public policymaker, local governments, there are many different stakeholders, as you heard from the keynote speech. We can only make it possible by having a good collaboration. So in that sense, two panels will be inviting people from different backgrounds to share what they have to say. Now, because by doing so, we can learn about what we can do in different roles and what different roles can be connected with better impact. And I think that will give quite good insights to you. Now, that's good enough for prelude. We'd like to now officially start our discussion on panel number 1. I'd like to now invite panels to come up to the stage. So I'll call your name, so please come up to the stage. First person I'd like to introduce to you is Pacific Asia Travel Association, or PATA, Pamnesh Kumar, who's director of the PTA. Mr. Kumar? And next, I'd like to also invite Sendai Regional Headquarters, Japan Meteorology Agency, Mr. Tsukamoto. Please come up on stage, Tsukamoto. Mr. Tsukamoto.
3人目に
And third panel I'd like to invite is Sendai Tourism Convention and International Association, Yuki-san.
「そしてもうお一
And there's last but not least, the final panel for us is so on January 1st this year, earthquake hit the Wakura Spring. The hotel or ryokan Kagaya was hit with the earthquake, and this is Mr. Michishita from that hotel. Okay, we are now having a set of 4 panels now on stage. So we'll be hearing from 4 of the panels with their first-hand experience to have a very engaging discussion, I'm sure. But before we start the panel discussion, I'd like to ask each one of panel to introduce maybe 1 or 2 minutes. Just go brief, please.
brief self-introduction, starting with Mr. Kumar.
Thank you. So I'll just be very brief about this. So I'm Pavnesh Kumar from Pacific Asia Travel Association. The way PATA engages in TDR responses is basically on many levels. So starting with the policy and decision makers, businesses, informal workers, we do through capacity building, implementation, gap identification, and much more. And what we have done so far and where we are headed, you will see that in the coming few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. ありがとうございました。続きまして
Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Tsukamoto. Thank you very much. I am Director, Disaster Risk Reduction Department, Sendai Regional Headquarters from Meteorological Agency. So Sendai is the center of these activities in Tohoku regions. We're providing information regarding different natural hazards, including earthquake and meteorological events and others, including volcanic eruptions. So together with our headquarters, we operate 24 hours, 7 days a week for our disaster prevention activities. For tourists, the weather is a very important factor for them to make a decision on their activity. So temperature, rain or snow may have some impact on their attire as well. And more important information that we provide is about disasters, information that could lead to disaster. So typhoon, heavy rain, and volcanic activity as well as the earthquake, they could be threatening to the human beings. So in order to protect from those natural hazards, we need to issue early warning and advisory. However, even with the information, the tourists from overseas may not be able to avoid disaster only with such information. Therefore, our agency trying to improve our website to better communicate those information to non-Japanese in addition to Japanese. But we need to work closely with the local government and others in order to make those information effective to tourists. Therefore, we collaborate with many other stakeholders. As for the tourist industry, it is very important for us to cooperate with them to disseminate such information to tourists. Thank you very much.
ございました。
Well, thank you very much. And you might be wondering why meteorological agency, but his introduction does actually make sense. This agency is playing a very important role. I'm sure you got that. Now, followed by, I'd like to ask Yuki-san next. Yes, my name is Yuki from Sendai Tourism Convention International Association. Very nice to meet you all. At the Sendai Tourism Convention Association, we are basically a cultural arm of Sendai City. We are outsourced from the city, and there were 3 different project businesses that we run. One is about tourism business, including inbound tourism, to invite, to have a better environment to receive tourism, to have a tourist community, and also promotion of local craftsmanship, and also that information center. Free commission is another work that we do under the arm. Second responsibility is MICE. Convention Bureau is also another arm of our organization. Third is international business. And on a day-to-day basis, we have a collaboration center on the first floor of this building with multiple languages are supported so that lifestyle informations are expanded to non-Japanese speaker, or they can also ask questions to them. But we are, at the time of hazard, we become a center for communication information with multiple languages. So these are the 3 sets of different responsibilities. More recently, our associations were involved. Actually, September this year, the tourism agency actually assigned us as a regional DMO. And we are, for Sendai City is expected to lose population in the future. We would like to welcome more people, including environmental tourism, so that we can have a sustainable economy in this community. And so maybe this can be a good starting point where we can work with different stakeholders too, and also working very closely with the city of Sendai to become the Sendai to be a city of a choice. And there are some challenges that we are embarking on, and I think we are proud to take this responsibility. And I mentioned this on this introductory page. Until April, I was actually fireman, fighting fire until April. So back in 2011, I was involved. Yes, I was partly going through the rescue team. I was doing commander under the disasters. And then I was responsible for administrative works, so maybe my background experiences can be helpful for discussion about disaster risk reduction. Well, thank you very much. And as you have introduced, you are professional pros of disaster risk management, and now having a new role as a leadership of international association and the tourism association. He's actually the city made a great choice in assigning this iconic of what city is committed to. I'm very excited to hear from him.
田さんに、
Now I'd like to invite Mr. Mitsushita. Thank you very much for the introduction. My name is Mitsushita. I am General Manager of Kagaya. Nice to meet you, everyone. First of all, January 1st of this year, the earthquake hit Noto area. Thank you very much for your warm words, including condolences and others. Therefore, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to you all. Thank you very much for your support. So, I'm from Kagaya, at a hotel. We have history of 1200 years. It's in narrow way of Noto areas. In the coastal areas, our hot spring resort has been developed. Before January 1st this year, there were 22 ryokan hotels, and we had a maximum capacity of 9,200 per day. So those who come to our hot spring for touristic reasons, and also there are many people came to the hot spring for their conferences and others. So running a hotel, this has a quite the broader industry. So people stay at the hotel. We basically sell a 1 night, 2 days services, including 2 meals. So we procure the local foods and others to provide our services to our guests. So when it comes to our hotel, it has a lot of ripple effect in different sectors in our region. So we play a very important role to vitalize the local economy. So that is the same even after the earthquake. So that is my self-introduction. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Mitsushita.
異なる立場で異なるお仕事をされている方が
So we have a variety of panelists from different background and different positions. I'm looking forward to the discussion. Just one note before we start. Each of those panelists plays a very important role. However, within this panel discussion, I would like to just call them without any honorific titles or so. So let's begin.
最初にお話をいただきます
I'd like to now invite Pata Babnish-Kumar-san to give us a brief presentation about tourism agency, tourism resiliency work that Pata is working with us.
projects and activities that PATA has taken the initiative to support the tourism destination tourism businesses to enhance their preparedness for ensuring safety of the visitors in the event of crisis events. And can you also tell us about the background and objectives behind the active implementation of these tourism resilience-related initiatives by PATA? And please feel free to stand up and point at the slides, as you may have a number of slides.
Perfect, and thank you so much for allowing me to stand. All right, everyone, I think this is good enough, so don't block this screen. So allow me to take you on a quick journey, and I have been told I have 10 minutes. So PATA is a not-for-profit association. We were founded in 1951 in Hawaii. We have the vision to advance travel as a force for good. We have the 5 P's of advocacy that are people, planet, prosperity, partnership, and peace. A lot of associations and tourism departments usually just talk about destination, and we would like to add one more item to this narrative, and that is tourism destination resilience. The first question is, what is resilience? Simply put, it's just the ability of a system or a society to accommodate, to adapt, and transform from adverse scenarios. And why do we need tourism destination resilience? Okay, so we need destination resilience, as already highlighted by my previous speakers, that disaster can occur anytime, and we need to be prepared in order to survive and also to prosper in time. So the question is, what is PATA's definition of TDR? So for PATA, tourism destination resilience, which I would be referring to TDR to save time now, is both a process and an outcome. At the core of it is risk assessment. If we move out slightly, we see risk management. On the third circle, we have the adaptive capacity. And the last one, all-encompassing sustainability. There are 5 resiliences for tourism destinations. First and foremost, we have the environmental. Second, the economic. Third, visitor. Fourth, community. And fifth, health and safety, for which COVID-19 was and is the most recent example. Now let's talk about Tourism Destination Resilience Program by PATA. So before we start, I would like you to learn about the 3 different stratas or 3 different layers of this engagement. Number 1, we have the policymakers, the decision makers. Number 2, we have the businesses that run the tourism industry. And number 3, we have the informal workers. We started this program at level 1, targeting decision makers and policy makers. So this program responds to the need for more resilient tourism industry. Originally, it was intended to be just in 4 languages, but we managed to have now in 10 modules in 6 languages. We have also created an online repository, a library, where you have all the resources, which is completely complimentary, and I will be sharing the QR code for you to scan and visit that. And I would like to invite you to please visit that resource. The first and foremost was to create a risk exposure tool for destinations globally to identify what kind of risk they are going to face. Then risk assessment, and both of these tools, along with so many other resources, are already available on our website. In addition to creating online tools, we also delivered in-person workshops and trainings. This is probably the most text-intensive slide on my deck, so please allow me to go through this rather quickly. We start with the first one. So these are the 10 modules, these are the schemas. Number 1 is the introduction to tourism destination resilience. Number 2 is risk assessment. 3 is destination management strategy. 4 is the emergency planning. 5th is post-crisis planning, how you respond, how you rethink. And then module 6 onward, we change the tone of this. So module 6 talks about capacity building and training. Module 7 talks about resilient infrastructure and services, and as already highlighted by the speakers before me, that investing in resilience is not a cost, it's an actual investment. As per the research, every single dollar that we spend in resilience actually equates to $13 after the disaster has struck us. So that's imperative to understand. The 8th one talks about local and regional market supply and demand, because now we have shifted the gear. Earlier we were only talking about disaster, now we're talking about tourism resilience. So there will be, of course, elements of tourism in this. Module 9 talks about tourism offer diversification, which could be a potential solution for over-tourism, mass tourism, or off-season travelers. And Module 10 is when you have completed the journey of this course, we talk about sustainability as a competitive advantage. It has been established, and we are a big promoter of this, that resilience is the foundation to sustainability. So we have at level 1, the policymakers, decision makers. This is what we're calling TDR for destination. 10 online modules and in-person workshops. Then level 2 is for businesses, what we call SMEs, or in some regions we call them MSME, which is small, medium enterprises, or micro, small, and medium enterprises, which is 2 modules and in-person workshop. I'll give you a rationale why 2 modules and what are those topics. We conducted in-person workshops in Vietnam, Cambodia, the Philippines, and Indonesia. So this was about the program. Now, what is the outreach? So we have trained over 352 individuals across these 4 destinations. And if we talk about the digital outreach, our website receives regular traffic from over 150 countries. Our workshops have combined more than 31,000 views. And we have distributed more than 8,000 certificates of completion, which you only receive when you have more than 75% passing marks for individual modules and the final aggregate test. Now, when we looked at level 2, for businesses, what is it that's stopping businesses from becoming resilient? We did a lot of discussions, in-person sessions, surveys, feedback, and then we tried to identify that very pain point. So we came out with 2 answers. Number 1, finance. SMEs do not have the necessary skills to manage finance. Number 2, digital skills. In COVID-19, if your business was not digital, there was no business, right? So this resulted in the Tourism Destination Resilience Program for tourism SMEs. Many times we really don't understand the magnitude, the giant that SMEs are in tourism. SMEs represent somewhere between 80 to 90% of all the business that takes place in a tourism destination. That's massive. And all of the destinations have different level of SMEs. When we talk about the SMEs, let's say in 2024 today, if 100 businesses start, within the first 2 years, 20% will fail. By the end of 10 years, only 20 to 30% will succeed. That's a failure rate of 70 to 80%. As per the Forbes data, before COVID-19, it was 70%. After COVID-19, it is potentially higher. And what was the biggest challenge? Well, they had no financial know-how, how to run a business. So we created the financial skills, which we talk about business financial basics, risk management, financial management, and then financial benefits of sustainability. For digital skills, we spoke about digital marketing, how to take your business online, and of course, cybersecurity. And again, this is available in 6 different languages. So we have the Vietnamese, Khmer, Bahasa Indonesia, simplified Mandarin, Thai, and English. You can scan the QR code if you want to access this online course. Then the level 3, which is informal workers. Now, informal workers are the most vulnerable group of people in the entire tourism supply chain. They have zero cushion, zero safety net. If there is a crisis, these are the first one to suffer and the last one to recover. So we created the training for them. We started in Bangkok, then we did training in Bali, then we trained in Jakarta. And all these trainings were 100% contextual, specifically designed to their specific needs and their specific context. Talking about the case studies, I have only 3 in lieu of time. So number 1, this was during the COVID-19 time. So Phuket Sandbox program, it allowed vaccinated tourists to travel to Phuket. They had 3 primary goals: revive the tourism, provide safety both to the operators and to the tourists, and number 3, create a robust reopening model. They achieved this through international promotions and communication tools. Number 2 is Palau. So Palau created this Palau Pledge with the very basic fundamental that we need to make tourism responsible in our destination. The tourists should also take responsibility and accountability. And they have been implementing and creating protocols. This promoted safe travel, this created resources for resilience, and we have seen tremendous impacts in the tourism resiliency, global model for responsible travel, and public health protection. And on the right side of the screen, you actually have the actual pledge, which was written by the children of Palau. And number 4 is Thailand. So around 2022, Thailand created a tourism recovery strategy. There were 4 points. Number 1, training of tourism supply chain, informal workers and businesses on health protocols, on sustainability, on digital skills. Step 2, create guidelines and materials for safe tourism practices. Step 3, bring together all the stakeholders, so the government, the tourism department, the businesses, NGOs, and tour operators. And number 4 was to market Thailand as a safe and sustainable destination. Now, to answer the last question that you asked me, what is PATA's background and objectives by promoting tourism destination resilience? So we started working on the responsible side of tourism way long, like 50 years ago. But in 1991, we officially made the first call for action. In 1992, we had the PATA Code for Environmentally Responsible Tourism. And 10 years ago, PATA, with the support of UNDRR Asia Pacific Office, created the first hotel resilient standards, which were then carried forward by the Hotel Resiliency Initiative, which has now transformed into a full functional certification program, which is, of course, not by PATA because we haven't done that certification, but it was based on the standards that were created. And yes, why resiliency? Because it's one of the 5 pillars for sustainable tourism in Asia Pacific. So number 1, sustainable economic growth, social and cultural empowerment, heritage protection, environmental sustainability, and the 5th one is resilience and adaptive capacity. Our sole reason, sole idea, the sole motivation is to make a future that is resilient tourism industry. Thank you very much. This is the QR code I talked about, so please feel free to scan this. This will take you to our official repository of all the resources, which has more than 110 free, open source, open to public, completely complimentary resources on sustainability, ecotourism, marketing, digital strategies, tourism destination resilience, waste management, so everything in one single place. Feel free to use that. If you have any questions or queries, or you would like to visit our Bangkok office anytime you are there, feel free to drop by, and you can also reach out to me on my email address, that is pavnesh@pada.org. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kumar, and for such an informative and comprehensive presentation in a very, very limited time. And I was so impressed by your adding informal work as within a scope for this program, because that's something we tend to, misunderstand and ignore. But as you have just presented, it's such an important factor that they are included in the program. ありがとうございました。では続きまして。
Thank you very much. Now I'd like to invite Mr. Tsukamoto. Today, looking at the news this morning in Okinawa, northern part, as well as the Amamijima areas, especially Yorong Island, there is a heavy rain event in this morning, so I'm worried about the situation right now. So when an extreme weather event is expected, or when an earthquake, tsunami, volcanic eruption, or extreme weather event occurs, what kind of information do you provide to domestic and international visitors, and in what ways do you encourage them to take action to ensure their safety? That is my question for you. And also, I have one more question. What are the challenges and issues to disseminate and provide disaster information to the visitors? So thank you very much. I like to be seated when I am talking. First of all, the specific information for tourists. We don't have any specific information for tourists. First of all, Japan Meteorological Agency, how we provide information. So this is my first topic in my presentation. This graph shows the information flow, how does flow from Japan Meteorological Agency to general public. General public include tourists happen to be in the area. So this is how I wish you to understand. On the left hand side, this is the Japan Meteorological Agency and headquarters and local meteorological offices. So how information goes to general public. There are some different routes through which information is provided. The major one is the website. We have JMA website so that general public can access this website. And next one, second, the box, as you can see in this slide, that is all the DRL related institutions as well as the prefectural government. So first we send information to local government, and based on that, the local government make a decision what information should be provided to their local residents. Although we have the website through which you are able to access directly general public. However, when it comes to the DRL, the advisory for evacuation, and those are basically given by local government. And here you have also information that is provided to tourists happen to be in that location. And also we have broadcasting services such as NHK and other media organizations through which we also provide information to public, general public, including visitors. Then the next question, how we communicate to foreign visitors. We have a website, as I mentioned. So through the website, we are able to communicate to foreign visitors to Japan through different languages. We have multiple languages available in our website. So we have information in 15 languages, mainly on Asian languages. And also, second point, the information that we provide must be simple and usable. That is one of our target. So first, we get the information based on GPS, and then we provide a locally catered information. And also for public, we prioritize most critical information over others. So when we show information on different medias, we try to prioritize most critical information over others. However, of course, there's some information we can't convey. For example, earthquake and tsunami. If there's no time for us to wait in this case, in the website, people need to access the website to get information regarding tsunami and earthquake. However, this is too late. For such an emergency information, we communicate to general public through local government. So, and also we send an email notice or a mobile phone notice to general public. However, when it comes to the local broadcasting, that is basically carried over in Japanese languages. Therefore, it's maybe difficult for foreigners to understand that. Especially tsunami is one of the major natural hazards that we need to communicate to all people, especially in Tohoku region. We have had experiences of a tsunami, not only 2011. This region has been hit many times by tsunami. Therefore, we have a leaflet for foreign visitors, which talks about the risk of tsunami. On the right-hand side, as you can see different types of leaflet available. Through those leaflets, we try to communicate to foreign visitors to Japan about tsunami. And it say, please find shelters when you feel strong and jolt. For example, if you feel the big jolt, then you need to find a shelter because the tsunami might be coming. However, those who have not experienced the earthquake before, it's very difficult for them to make a judgment what will be the significant jolt with which they need to find shelter. So now we have an app and in which we have safety tips. Therefore, I would like to explain this. And it's, if you look at this slide and safety tips, this is really upside down. However, through this app, when there is emergency information, they are able to receive such information on this app. And also, it's not only about information sharing. On this app, they are able to see advice and action that they should take depending on different situation. So the volcanic activity, heavy rain and earthquake, not only those natural hazards, but also it's provide information regarding transportation and also the tourist information as well. Therefore, I hope that then foreign visitors will leverage this app for their information gathering. And when it comes to the meteorological events, as I mentioned before, especially meteorological events are very locally specific. In Japan, the heavy rain is the biggest cause of disaster. Then what kind of risks that they need to understand? Therefore, what kind of action they need to take based on heavy rains? We have very detailed information provision, and each block is about 1 kilometer square. So we use the GPS information. Based on this information, we show the risk for that local area. It's not just about the heavy rain, but we also communicate information regarding flood or landslide. And basically flood is basically overflow from the rivers, for example, and also inundation. So those are the information that we have that we can communicate with general public. And Japanese are quite familiar with this information. Therefore, they know what to do when they receive this emergency information. And if you look at this graph, so red is the warning and the purple color is recommend people to take an evacuation action, and black is the situation where disaster has already taken place. Therefore, the people must take whatever they can take to protect themselves if they see this black color. However, for foreign visitors who are not familiar with these different color coding, I believe this is for them to hard to understand. However, this is very effective information. Therefore, we would like to leverage this type of information for information provision to foreign visitors. And also, even the domestic tourists who do not have any particular knowledge about the destination that they are visiting. In such a case, this information is very effective. So we are able to put together information. We can send such information. However, regarding information regarding evacuations, we are where people can find shelter, for example, there we need to collaborate with the other entities, including local governments. Therefore, we regularly communicate with local government and relevant institutions to share this information and understanding about this information, level of information, and the action that they need to take. Here, I believe we need to improve so the information with which people can take action, that is one thing that we are a bit behind. Therefore, we would like to improve in that aspect. So this is one of the challenges we face right now. So we want to make our information easy to understand and with which people can take actions. So simple and easy to understand information, that is something we are working on right now. Thank you very much, Mr. Tsukamoto. As Mr. Tsukamoto mentioned, they have very detailed information regarding natural hazard, but the challenge is that how they can prompt actions by receivers.
観光の現場
And this organization who is at the front line of the tourism, and there are a lot of initiatives happening, programs happening in preparation. But the city of Sendai have experienced the East Great Earthquake in Japan, and as well as many disasters in the past. But by listening to Mr. Tsukamoto's talk, so let's say that information becomes available today from the city, vice mayor is here, and we also have Sendai Tourism, the convention. International Association is like, how would you allocate different responsibility with different stakeholders so that we can give safety to the tourists, because tourism, both from Japan or outside of Japan, who may not know the details of the infrastructures and the what's like the and the details about the community. So what are the programs that you might be working on to help to make that process easier? Yuki-san? Yes. I will talk. Well, the city of Sendai have established something called Sendai Crisis Management Guideline, and I would like to go through this manual very briefly. But this is very newly established. There are a lot of maybe gaps that we need to improve upon, but please listen. We welcome your feedback. And as being introduced, city of Sendai 2011 under the earthquake and tsunami shortly afterward hit that, we have got a big damage. But there was a Miyagi offshore earthquake was happened before that, and earthquake it was a seismic impact, was very severe, and as well we also experienced many different disasters, natural hazards as well. Aside from 2009, I think many of you remember the new types of influenza or flu was a big problem for us, and we are just overcoming with many different challenges. So we wanted to use the lessons and experiences from those disasters and put the disaster recovery plan that is like coming with the specific action plans, and we are always updating every time we go through different set of disasters so that we have better readiness. But now tourism is important, economic activities is important, especially the tourism, because this is a very important pillar of the new economy. And the Agency of Tourism have made a guideline about tourism safety guideline that we took that seriously at City of Sendai to build and establish the policy and the strategy for safeguarding tourists. And now, based on those experiences, we have decided to make this manual. I apologize, this slides entirely in Japanese, but on the right-hand side at the top, that is giving you that kind of this manual of positions, and in any case, this is a crisis manual specifically made for tourism industry. Now, so that you see 1, 2, 3, and 4 at the very bottom of the slide. There are 4 different phases that this manual is being designated with. Now, the very first one is about disaster reduction. This is like mainly investment on infrastructure, like seismic impact reduction. Or preparation. Infrastructure investment is important. That's written in the manual. And also crisis response. City of Sendai and local organizations, tourism local organizations, and we as an association have certain roles and responsibilities. What we can do about getting information, how to disseminate communication, that are being summarized in this number 2, including multi-language communications, including the giving access for information about best routes to go back to your home or to your hotel. So, and but also it's saying it's very important to centralize the information, and the centralized information can be shared on website. But the association is actually responsible for that, to collect all the information that are relevant and important for tourism industry, and multi-language center will then spread that communication. That's the basically the communication process in case of an disaster. Now, we didn't really have any programs like this specifically focused on tourism. There was no such response manual available. But the city of Sendai, ever since March 11th, the 2011 big earthquake, railway, underground trains, all those public transportation ceased to be working. And that was like happening at the time in which many people wants to go back to home. JR Sendai, the subway stations were filled with many different confused people, because they couldn't really find a way to go back to home because of that hard experience. In 2015, we have take a partnership with the private businesses to make a committee for better responses, like a transportation industry and a hotel industry was helping us as having a safe favoring shelter, so that the people who are lost, who are confused, can be safely being accommodated. And we have made that scheme officially. And we are every year running a drill. And now with the advent of establishment of manual, we want to also invite better resiliency for maybe running a training program that is specifically designed for helping tourism, including non-Japanese tourism. I'll talk about that later in this next slide. But this, the slide that you see right now is a framework of the manual that we have established. Number 1 is about the information collection, centralized information collection, and also centralized and communication dissemination. What the communication platform that we visit. Number 2 is like helping non-Japanese overseas tourists. As the earlier speaker said, there are. So this is a central depository of information. We will then create flyer with the essential information. So by having that central information, because if you don't have the data, nobody can feel confident and secure. And we will have a flyer so that everybody can also manually be able to get essential data available. Number 3 is about who do we want to collaborate? What businesses that we work with? So, and this is not mandate, by the way. We are not pushing as strongly as that. So this is voluntarily asking businesses to make sure we have all the safeties. We have certain suggested rules, recommended rules are also covered in this section. Section number 4 is actually during the Kanazawa earthquake of earlier this year, there are a lot of damage to tourism industry. Therefore, early communication is quite important. Maybe first, and also we should promote, announce if part of destination becomes safe. And this is a promotion for recovery and coming back. And I'm sorry, going back and forth. This goes back to my earlier talk about the people who are having trouble coming back. This is a drill to make sure we have better resiliency if that happens again. This was done. It was supposing the big earthquake happened in the Sendai station of Japan Rail, and we go through extensive drill process. Top left corner, like, let's make sure you protect your head. You put down your body low so that you can be safer. And then this is the emergency shelter. This is station. Like you come here for the time being, and can you walk? Can you walk back to your home? Because some people are living close, or tourists. My hotel is Osaka hotel. I cannot fly back to, like, I have to, my home is, overseas. I cannot have access to airport. So we will actually, we will allocate, right? So if you can walk, be safe, and walk back to your home, and we will give the flyer that I have shown you before. So that there's a list of the things that you need to check up to avoid the exposure to risk. And for those of you who cannot have access to home accommodation, we can have a temporary shelter. That's the top right corner, where this is like a reception process, admission process for this shelter. So hotels around the Sendai stations are agreeing to help us. And so at max, 3 days, 72 hours, the target time frame in which they can at least shelter themselves for time being. Now, as you see at the bottom of the slide, multi-language sheet papers. To make sure they don't have any problem. What are the problems? If you do have any, point that out to the sheet with your language so that the people who are helping, they may not be able to speak your language, but they may be able to help. And what's happening? What are the recovery that's taking place? This will be coming from the disaster, emergency headquarters will give us the information and we will write them up. Many different information can come at the center deposit for information for updates of recovery. Lastly, but not least, after 3 days, 72 hours the target. To make sure that we have enough supplies to survive and be comfortable in 3 days. And we run this extensive drill to be able to be ready for this process. So manuals now being established, finally. But how do we popularize that so that many people know about it? And tourism businesses can maybe have very specific plans of their own based on the man. And we would like to bring, also promote that, motivate a lot of stakeholders to be involved with this. And we want to go through drill again and again so that we can be more effective in implementation. So us at the association, tourism businesses, we are very much open to their feedback. We will pay attention, direction from policymakers, so that we can be more effective. We can align ourselves together to respond better in a case of disaster. And I would like to continue to do so. Thank you. Oh, thank you very much, Yuki-san.
私も
And I too, go to different places in Japan. And crisis management plans, crisis management manuals have been established in many different cities. I was supporting that process, including city of Sendai. Sendai city's version is one of the the best manual. The other thing that makes it unique is that during the process of establishing the manual, you involve with different stakeholders, private businesses, train operators, and also different city, right? International Airport of Sendai, albeit it's not in the city of Sendai, but you have been taking very comprehensive approach in putting this manual, makes this very unique. So Sendai city did a great job in this, but crisis management plans there's a guidance. Murakami-san is here with us. The Tourism Agency of Japan have established that as well, which city of Sendai took this as a model example. So on December 19th, so crisis management plan or that manual is not being made in your city or your organization, in your group, there on that date, crisis management seminar is going to be hosted. This is like a online only. Therefore, you can access anywhere from Japan on December 19th. And from the we will start to take application. So if you're interested in that, you can start to apply for that at the end of this month, so that can help you, hopefully, with the better management process of your city. Please bring it back, please.
訓練の話
So as we discussed the planning as well as training and drills, now we're going to listen to person who had experienced the disaster. So from Kagaya, what happened to the hotel and how did deal with it in order to protect the guests at the hotel. That is what I want to learn from Mr. Mitsushita. Actually, Mr. Mitsushita was the leading all of those efforts after the earthquake. So going to the earthquake, the first earthquake hit at 4:06 in the afternoon, and we changed the broadcasting system of the hotel, and we asked guests not to use an elevator with this broadcasting. And then after this, because of this announcement, when the major earthquake hit, nobody was left behind an elevator, and the earthquake scale of 7 hit. After that, the glasses of buildings broke and fell with noises, and as you can see, those glasses scattered, and people are asked to protect the head and then take some distance from the wall. So we made such broadcasting many times, and one young lady who had joined our hotel recently took an action to protect our guests, covering our guests, and then also we started evacuation, and also we stopped all the gas supply and also power supply at our facilities in order to prevent secondary disaster. And the person who is in charge of a different floor inspected different facilities, make sure there's no one is in danger. And looking at guest attires after they evacuated, they are wearing the yukata, those like nightwears for the ryokan, and the temperature around that time was 7 degrees Celsius, so guests are trying to warm up themselves, and also hotel employees trying to warm them up by tapping their backs and others. Therefore, we prepared the different blanket and bath towels, and also our employees and coats and jumpers. We brought in those to our guests to warm the guests up. However, there's a lack of resources, and therefore our guests also helped us in this activity. And then we went to Wakura Elementary School. That is supposed to be the evacuation center in this region, and there are many people who have already evacuated to the school. And then after some times disaster, that there are different requests from our guests. Temperature dropped from 7 to 3 degrees C as we went into the night, and because of the main earthquake, glasses were shattered. Therefore, we asked for the cardboard boxes and other to provided some structure for them to keep warm temperature inside. And I believe they were all hungry, and therefore I asked our employee to make rice balls. So we wish to make large rice balls. However, for this moment, we needed to provide the rice ball to all guests. That's why we make it intentionally small to make it available for all. And we made 400 rice balls, and guests, including local people, about 2,000 people evacuated to this school. And then I contacted employee who work for the shop at the hotel, asked them to bring in any like sweet and others available at the shop for us to provide such additional food to those who are evacuating. So though we're not able to provide enough food and enough the situation where people can be comfortable, however we did whatever we were able to do. And in this school, in the gymnasium at the school, we all evacuated, and babies are crying, and baby formula was able to procure from the neighboring kindergarten. However, we didn't have gas supply, therefore we are not able to make hot water. That's why I asked once again our employees to bring in hot water pot to provide hot water to those who need to make baby formula. And in midnight, I went back to my company to discuss what to do the following day. Then when I went back to my office, what I thought first is that guests who went back to our hotel, what they will be asking. I guess the guests wanted to leave the Wakura hospital area as soon as possible for them to find a safe shelters in somewhere else, or they wanted to go back their home as well. That's why we try to make priorities in order to deal with the demand by guests, and we created a manual. And of course, that was not the best response. However, with this manual, we thought we were able to send our guests back their home. However, how we can bring them back to Kanazawa Station? I asked the local bus companies for their cooperation. However, they were not available. Therefore, we decided to bring our guests back to the Kanazawa Station with our own buses. We have 11 buses. However, the road to Kanazawa Station was so disrupted. That's why we sent an employee to check the situation of road to the station. And next day, in the morning, staff member came back to our office. They say that it was very cold. However, what is difficult for them was that they were not able to use a flush toilet because water supply was disrupted. That's why we decided to bring the water to the elementary school. And then, as I mentioned, we brought all the guests to Kanazawa Station in around 2:30 p.m. So it took like 3 to 4 hours from our hotel to the Kanazawa, it usually takes a third of the time. However, because of the situation on road, it took like 3 to 4 hours. So after bringing our guests to the station, we came back to our hotel in Wakura. It was already like 6 p.m. or so. That was very long time. However, I feel it was very fast. That's what happened in 26 hours after the earthquake.
AI DX という
So now we often talk about AI or DX, digital transformation. But through this experience, what I learned is that about human being. So I really thank our employees who acted as a human being to help out our guests. So that is very important in addition to the technologies and others. And because 1 month before this earthquake, we had a drill assuming the fire accident. Around that time, we didn't announce the fire, where fire took place. So that was intentionally, we didn't announce where we assumed fire was taking place. And in these drills, we bring in the firefighters as well. But in these drills, we know that we hotel operators know about our hotel, a layout of our hotel better than firefighters. Therefore, we thought that we are responsible for guiding our guests to safe place at our hotel. So because of this drill, we are able to rather smoothly guide our guests to the safe place. And of course, we have a long history, and then our culture and our tradition is basically customer first. So with this spirit, I believe we were able to relatively smoothly guide our guests to safe place. Thank you very much, Mr. Mitsushita. So you mentioned you had a plan, also you had a drill. However, that hospitality mindset. So employees, as a human being, try to understand the needs of each individual guest, and they take action to respond to their needs. That's resulted in good response. And you mentioned over 400 people. So within 24 hours, you were able to bring all the guests to the Kanazawa station. So that is a very good example. So we have listened to all the 4 panelists. So here we wish to take some discussions among ourselves. However, time is limited, so it's quite unfortunate. I need to ask each panelist to say a final word. So your impression listening to other presentations and others, what you want to do going forward. So would you please share with us as your final comment. So first, Mr. Mitsushita, please. In the Chinese historical book, which is called Shokyo, so once you are well prepared, there's no concern. So this phrase is very important. However, with this experience of earthquake, even you're prepared, there is still concern. Meaning that you assume different scenarios in your planning. So you look at different possibility from disasters, for which you need to really engage all communities to respond if that, for the case of that happening.
And yes, here in city of Sendai, Miyagi Prefecture, the sense of what we need to do under crisis is very high in this community. That's because Sendai or the iconic places in Sendai can attract tourists, feeling safe and confident. I hope Sendai can be a good iconic brand, and we as a DMO would like to work closely with City of Sendai to do that. Thank you.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Tsukamoto. Yes, so when it comes to DRR, as a person who's in charge of disaster risk reduction, I learned a lot from other presentations. And one of the key words from these discussions, not just creating manual, you must have effective drills. You must have serious drills, assuming the real event. Thinking about what you do if the event happened to you. So this is something I learned from the example of Kagaya. So the drill is very important. That's what I felt. So we will do our best.
And finally, Mr. Kumar, can I have a few words of your impression or the future of their activities?
Sure. I would like to express this slightly differently. So there are possible three scenarios for every situation, right? There are known knowns, so you know what it is, you know when it's going to happen. Super easy to manage. Second is you know what it is, but you don't know when it's going to happen. Also kind of easy. The third one is the unknown unknown. You don't know what it is, and you have no idea when it's going to happen. And that's the tricky bit about resilience. It's both the three scenarios that resilience tried to prepare us for. So moving forward, I would just like to invite you to learn more about resilience and how we can be resilient both as a destination as also as individuals.
Thank you. Just a question. How can a Japanese join your program with our own language?
We will definitely love to translate this to Japanese and also expand to the regions in Japan. And I think definitely we can figure out a way of collaborating on this, because Sendai is the gold standard when it comes to disaster risk management and resilience. And I think there is nothing stopping us for making it the benchmark for tourism destination resilience.
Thank you very much. はい、以上をもちまして
Thank you very much. That concludes panel 1. And please join me in thanking with a round of applause to wonderful presenters and panels.
Thank you, Mr. Takamatsu and all the panelists. So now we'll be taking a break, and our next session will begin at 4 p.m. in this room. And we have local confectionaries from the Tohoku region for you, so feel free to help yourself during the break. So now we would like to move on to panel session 2, preparing for business continuity and recovery after tourism crisis to minimize the impact on destinations and tourism industry. The moderator of this session is Mr. Masato Takamatsu, President of Tourism Resilience Japan. So, Mr. Takamatsu, please.
はい、では、セッション
So let's start our session 2. So I'd like to invite our panelists onto the stage. So panel session 2, we are going to invite 4 speakers. First of all, Executive Director, Japan Travel and Tourism Association, Mr. Uchiyama. Next, from East Japan Railway, Mr. Sawato. And next, JICA Regional Policy Advisor, Mr. Matsumura. Then, from Tohoku University, International Research Institute of Disaster Science, Professor Maruya. So in panel discussion number 1, we learned from Kagaya Hotel how they dealt with at the time of the earthquake. And we discussed how we're going to protect tourists at event of disaster. In panel discussion 2, we will focus on business operators or destinations for their business continuity as well as recovery. What will be preparedness that is necessary to accelerate recovery? So without further ado, I would like to invite the first speaker to introduce themselves. First of all, Mr. Muchiyama. My name is Muchiyama from the Japan Travel and Tourism Association. First of all, thank you very much for this opportunity to share with you what we are doing. So our JTTA, we cover transportation, accommodations, and travel businesses as a whole. And also we have the local government as a membership. So we are a national center to connect different stakeholders. Unfortunately, in Japan, there are many disasters due to natural hazard. There was a Great East Japan earthquake in 2011 and other disasters actually caused a tremendous damage on our tourism industry. And also during COVID-19, we basically demand disappeared, evaporated, as you all remember. So likewise, disasters which we can't avoid, we need to be prepared for disasters. And in order to make sure that we are ready, we have BCP, Business Continuity Plan. Especially in Japan, tourism industries are typically composed of the smaller and mid-sized businesses, and the ratio of the BCP implementation is very low, as Mr. Takamatsu mentioned before. Therefore, at the JTTA, we make many efforts to promote BCP among tourism industry. I'd like to share that with you today. Thank you very much.
続きまして澤田様お願い。
Next, I'd like to ask Sawata-san to introduce. Well, I am working at East Japan Rail, mostly railway, but transportation services, as well as we also have a business about hotel or the retailers of the station. And we do also have Suica, which is a smart chip card. So these are the three businesses that we converge to create more demand for tourism, as well as creating values in local community and economy. And through the transportation, in that context, reconstruction tourism is one of the projects that we run. And in that sense, building a community requires, and our biggest partner is the people in the community in that program. And we at the East Japan would want to become a very good partner to the local community to build better communities. Now, back in 2011, when the big great earthquake, East Japan earthquake happened, I was in Gunma Prefecture in my work. And it was Gunma destination campaign was about to start in that year in July. So that was 3 months, 3 months plus ahead of that event. And we were just wondering if we can just move on with the Gunma Festival campaign, and maybe having a big tourism campaign, maybe be blamed and not be, too many people appreciate that in the society. We have many communication and discussion with the local community. We said, let's use tourism to bring energy back to Japan. So we decided to implement that campaign. And what we learned from this program was tourism can give positive feelings to the people. It can rejuvenate, re-energize the community. And if you are involved in those tourism activities, you have a sense of solidarity. And I still remember that because I firsthand could experience about that. We are running a business responsible for infrastructure, transport infrastructure, so recovery, reconstruction from the Great East Japan earthquake, as well as our preparation for the future. Doesn't matter what incidents happen, we are committed to take journey together with the community, and that's the message that I'd like to share later in my presentation. Thank you.
では続きまして、
Thank you very much. Next, from the Caribbean, he came back to Japan, taking 1.5 days. Matsumura-san from JICA. Hello everyone. My name is Naoki Matsumura. As you can see on the screen, I belong to JICA regional policy. I am an advisor for disaster risk reduction Caribbean disaster emergency management agency. It's called a CIDEMA. So we have 20 countries in this capacity. We are covering 20 countries in this organization. I have been involved in the water and other disaster. However, I have been especially focusing on this region, and especially the Ms. Matsuoka, who made a keynote, and also people from Sendai City. Together with them, in 2015, the third World Conference on the DLR for the implementation of Sendai Framework. From the viewpoint of JICA, I have been involved in mainstreaming the DLR and other regions. And since August this year, I have responsibility in Caribbean region, so Barbados, where I am now working. So this time, so I have been with the DLR section for many years, and thanks to Mr. Takamatsu, I am now in charge of the JICA training for the tourism risk management in Caribbean. So in this program, I provide our services from DLR perspective in implementing such training in this region. Thank you very much.
はい、松村様ありがとうございました。よろしくお願いいたします。では、最後にご紹介いただきたい。
I'd like to lastly invite Maria-san from Tohoku University. Yes, my name is Hiroaki Maria from Tohoku University. I am there's a institution called International Research Institute of Disaster Science that was established 1 year after the Great East Japan earthquake. I've been working there at the institute for 11 years. You may be wondering where Tohoku University might be located at, but one of the Tohoku University's campus is available a street away from this building. We are very heavy user of this building. We are very familiar to this spot, but and we are also involved in the UNDRR session. I had a background, so it was 30 years ago where I joined the Ministry of Infrastructure and Land. I was bureaucrat. But I was assigned to BCP, Business Continuity Plan, where government is going to be establishing the guideline. I was involved. Ever since that, I've been involved entirely in promoting BCR, including my experiences in NPO. And I guess that's the reason why I was invited to this panel. But there's another challenge of people who cannot get back to home, as the earlier speaker have talked about. That's another research field, and also capacity building. Talent development is another one that I'm involved helping government in different committees and training programs. I'll be sharing my perspective from that background. Thank you very much.
ディスカッションに入る前に今内
So before going into panel discussion, as Uchiyama-san and Maria-san mentioned, so they mentioned about BCP. So BCP is at the time of event, how the businesses can continue their businesses and how they can accelerate recovery after a crisis. So that is what DCP is all about, and also they are called BCM. As Uchiyama-san mentioned, the tourism sector is a little bit behind in implementing BCP. This is the data from the survey conducted by the Cabinet Office every 2 years. So among this, when it comes to BCP implementation, the ratio of BCP implementation in different industries. So whether they have a BCP in place or not. So this is a ratio of the businesses who have BCP in place by different sector. So there are different sectors: construction, manufacturing. At the bottom, the red line is for accommodation and restaurant and services. Those are the majority or major entities for tourism industry. So as you can see, the tourism industry has been the lowest in terms of BCP implementation. It has risen to 27% or so. However, compared with another sectors, tourism sector is lagging behind. At the same time, the tourism industry is very vulnerable to external factors, and they are easy to fail financially as well. However, they don't have the good preparedness for crisis. But question is why? So they know they are vulnerable to external factors. Why they don't have BCP in place? So as you can see in this slide, so biggest reason is that they don't have human resources to compile BCP, and the second reason is that they don't have skill set or know-how to compile a BCP. So basically they're saying they don't know how to compile BCP, and they don't have people who are able to compile BCP, although they think it is necessary. Thank you very much. Okay, so that is the background of the tourism sector. Then I'm going to invite the speaker from JTTA, Japan Travel and Tourism Association. They have activity to improve the implementation of BCP and crisis management in tourism sector. They have many programs, and so basically they support tourism industry to compile BCP. So for that topic, I'd like to invite Mr. Uchiyama. Thank you very much. So let me start my presentation. So as Mr. Takamatsu has just explained, this is the situation of the ratio of BCP formulation in different sectors. So the accommodation, restaurants has been already explained, have the lowest rate of BCP implementation. And also reason behind them, as been mentioned, they don't have the human resources and they don't have skill set and know-how in order to compile on BCP. So this is a situation of the tourism industry with lowest BCP implementation rate. Therefore, our first focus is to eliminate difficulty for them to compile BCP. And also, when it comes to BCP, of course, there are many different formats. So BCP for manufacturing is quite popular. That is widely accepted. But when it comes to tourism industry, it's very local. So tourism operators provide services at the local level, meaning that there is no alternative that can replace with others. Therefore, when they compile BCP, we must go into the details about the specificity of tourism for creating BCP. Therefore, we have a program to guide us through to compile BCP. So purposes is to raise awareness of risk management in tourism industry and also promoting BCP formulation among tourism industry. And also we try to improve their capability to respond to risk and also business continuity. So those are the purposes with which we decided to establish a tourism crisis management and a business continuity study group together with the Japan Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Because JCCI, they have the common understanding about the importance of BCP in tourism industry. And we invited Mr. Takamatsu in this study group to discuss about BCP in tourism sector. So our objective is that, of course, we want to provide a tools so that they can take advantage of the tools in compiling BCP. So the first set of the project focuses on creating tools to develop BCP. And we have two major initiatives in this program. First one is, as you can see in this slide, we created the tourism BCP awareness booklet. So on the right hand side you can see the booklet. So this booklet explains about BCP, why it is important. So it basically gives an overview of BCP, and also it's explained the key points in creating BCP and the flow of creating BCP. All of those are explained in this leaflet. And also there's some best practices shared by other tourism operators. This is a very concise booklet, and we disseminate this booklet as a textbook in different seminars and lectures we provide. And this booklet is available at our website. Then this is another initiative. This is actually one of the largest initiatives. This is the guideline for BCP creation for tourism. As I mentioned, there is no typical format that could be suitable for tourism industry. Therefore, first we listen to the voices of operators, so hotels and tourism facilities and restaurants and transportation operators. So we first try to understand the requirement or needs in tourism industry in the BCP creation, and we discuss a lot in the study group. And based on that discussion, we created a draft version of the BCP guideline. And based on that, we asked for volunteers from the Chamber of Commerce or local DMOs. And also, we invited tourism operators, and then we discussed about this draft together with those stakeholders. And we gathered many different opinions and voices. Based on those opinions and voices, once again in 2022, August, we published this BCP creation guide for the tourism. So as I said before, this is similar to the booklet. This is available in our website. This is downloadable, and also you can edit this guide because you are able to download the Excel or Word format. Therefore, depending on the specific situation of each different operator, tourism operator, they can edit for their needs. And with this guide, we organize seminars inviting tourism operators for their creation of BCP and raising awareness of importance of BCP. So far I have discussed about BCP, but we have different initiatives as well. For example, as we mentioned by Sendai City, so there's a situation where there's no direct damage. However, that there is some damage caused by misinformation or disinformation. So because of this false information, tourists, for example, cancel their plan to go that destination. For example, as Kakaya mentioned, in January there was an earthquake hit Noto Peninsula, and of course, depending on the regions, there are different situations of the damages. Of course, there are some areas where damage was so severe, but looking at those 4 prefectures in the Hokuriku region, including Niigata. So although some of those regions are not severely damaged or free from damage, tourists stop going there. That's why we started a campaign starting from September, and then we collaborated with different stakeholders, including local government and private sector, and we created contents for those different destinations. So we would like to stimulate and demand for tourism in these regions. So this could be a first step to recover from disaster in terms of tourism. Now, thanks to this and others, now we see the demand for tourism in Hokuriku region, except for heavily damaged areas, we see recovery of demand. So this is actually can be considered as part of resilience. That's all. Thank you very much. Mr. Uchiyama-san, thank you very much. So he mentioned about BCP as well as campaign for the recovery. Thank you very much.
まして
And I'd like to ask next panel, who's Saoto-san from East Japan Rail Company, because in northeast regions had a big damage from the Great Eastern Earthquake, and it's almost completely back for transportation system. But it's not only about that for East Japan Railway, right? Because you want community to also come back in order for customers of the railways to come back. Because as a railway company, you have been living together with local communities. So you will have some programs helping community to come back, especially last year, Tohoku promotion network was being established just to demonstrate how you have been committed to that. So please start your presentation, please. Yes, my name is Sawato from East Japan Railway Company, and so sorry about showing this picture from the onset. This is very heart-wrenching pictures by simply looking at it. Top left photo, it's a Blue Line train. Has been, it's not collapsed, but completely been. And this is a Senseki line, also Nobile Station. Also, this is connected with the Sendai Station too. But this is the photo shortly after the earthquake. And the customer, there are 50 customers, passengers. The train was pushed away with tsunami, force of tsunami. And of course, the passengers, we have helped them to be rescued. Our conductors have helped them. And 50 passengers, our customers, were guided to the top hill. But during elementary school, children also help the rescue process. But the passengers are also coming together, helping each other. And right to that is that's another blue line. This is also connected to the Sendai station, Joban line, and this is at a station called Shinchi Station. It doesn't look like station anymore, and it's a topside down. The train is, and the station is devastated completely. This train, there were about 40 passengers. Yes, 40 passengers was in this train at that point. And tsunami completely distracted both station and the train. But the passengers, some of the passengers included police, law enforcement people were there, person was there, and that person was quite helpful in making sure everybody's got rescued safe. By the way, conductor of this train was at the bridge of the station where he has to stay overnight at the bridge of the station for that night. 2 pictures at the bottom. I'm sure many of you have used this station. This is the left-hand side, the Shinkansen platform at Sendai Station. Right-hand side is where you purchase tickets. And now you can see the panels at the ceilings are completely off. Many customers, passengers are there. But even under such a circumstance, it's miraculous. Nobody's got hurt. But this is how it looked like on that day. Now, so just simply remembering about that pains our heart. Of course, the Shinkansen, the bullet train had to stop. We tried to put it back as much as we could. But at 49 days later, April 29th was the restarting date of the operation. As it says, we can only do connecting railways. That's everything that we can do. But hopefully, connecting with the railway, hopefully that will give connectivity and some empowerment to the local community who are victimized by this. By connecting railway is the essence is in bringing back the energy to the land, I think. And that was a big, important message that we learned from this hard experience. Now, so the recovery process was that we are engaged ourselves deeply after the disaster. But so there are 4 things that we learned about recovery process. First is we need to make sure customers are safe. And because, especially from tsunami has a L1, L2. L1 is that tsunami big once in 100 times. L2 is once in 1,000 times. But who knows? It could happen anytime. If it's L1 tsunami, the surge barrier or levee needs to be installed together with local communities' acceptance to make sure that we can protect our community. L2 tsunami is we have to presume everybody have to get away from that spot. But we could have to, plan ourselves so that we can have a safe route, even under such a devastating tsunami. And recovery of railway will not happen only with recovery of rail, right? Because the damaged community has to get back. So community planning, recovery, reconstruction process of the local community has to be part of the plan. But in order to do that, for railroad to recover in that process, roadway, rivers, because there were crossroads with the rail and rivers and other like the infrastructure, we have to communicate closely to make sure what are the best recovery plans for that. And number 4, because everything comes with costs or the money. So this is another important factor in which we need to closely discuss with local communities to address that point as well. There are 3 pictures at the bottom. The one on the left, you actually saw that picture, this one, the Blue Line train, Nobile Station. So the left-hand side picture, this is how the Nobel Station was reborn. And this was about, it took about 4 years for us to get to this stage. But community building, this is called Higashi Matsushima City. And city of Higashi Matsushima had this town rebuilding plan. And this station was 3.5 kilometers radius. So it was relocated by 3.5 kilometers away on the top of at the top of the hill. Now in the middle you see field, rice paddy. This is the Joban line that you saw. This is the train upside down on the right hand side, Shinchi Station. How does Shinchi Station look like? As you see in the middle picture, Joban line itself, the line, I think it was about 14 kilometers. Railway itself was rerouted to the inland, away from the coast. This could not be done without help from Shinshimachi town and Yamamoto town. These local communities had this reconstruction plan, and we took part of that in making a huge change in redesigning where the railway is running. At the right-hand side is a picture of bus. It says BRT. Bus rapid transport and bus rapid transportation system. So this road used to be, there was a railway, but damage was huge and widespread. So rather than trying to rebuild railway, it will be very expensive for in terms of cost and time. So we decided to discuss with the all stakeholders. Given that situation, we collectively decided to reconstruct together with BRT, with bus. So, for example, there's a line called Kesenuma line, and for that line, with the consensus with the stakeholders, we decided to have a special road like this in a matter of 3 months. So we could recover in very quickly with bus route. Kesenuma line is there are only 12 trains a day, but shifting to bus gave us more frequency, 34 routes for trips. So that gives more flexibility, frequencies. This gives more convenience. But we could not do that unless we took this journey together with the local community. And after recovery, we need to bring reconstruction. Reconstruction could not happen without power of tourism. So Aomori Prefecture, after the earthquake, hosted destination campaign, and it's been in 2012, 13, and 14. We did it year after year in 6 prefectures of Tohoku region, across all the prefecture there. And in 2021, 15 years after the earthquake, we could have managed to do collective destination campaign with all the prefecture in Tohoku region. And this program actually continues even today. In 2026, a year and a half today, a year from today, we'll be doing this campaign. And we are just putting this program together as we speak. And we will be doing this in Fukushima Prefecture. But this is not everything. You see more photos at the bottom. This is called Sanriku. This is like a special market being hosted in the big cities, including Tokyo. So that we'll be like doing to make a PR activity to invite them to come to the destinations. And the photo in the middle, you see the small train, the whitish train. This is a train called Tohoku Emotion. You can enjoy the landscape, but you can also enjoy nice dishes on train. So it's exciting and enjoyment be on a train. So onboarding on train can be very exciting to invite more people to destinations. There's another program called Tohoku Reconstruction Tourism. Ever since the earthquake, it's been 13 years since. And so we have earthquake or disaster legacy program. There are many different facilities. There are about 70 different facilities in Tohoku regions to pass down the legacies of the learnings from the earthquake and disaster. We would like to work with this program together to invite more people to come to our destination. And Tohoku Reconstructed Tourism Network, by the way, has been established now last year. This network is involved with the national government, local governments, tourism agency, private businesses. There are about 94 different organizations in this network consortium. We are putting the new model. We are also inviting educational programs to come to this region so that we will never forget the learning and experiences of the disaster, working together with the local community. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much.
なんかもう
It sounds like, this is more than reconstruction. This is, I think, your talk gave us a bright future, exciting future in the future. I'm very excited to find out what will come from these programs.
東北での地域での取り組み
So we have just listened to a regional initiative in Tohoku. But if you just look beyond, going abroad in the Caribbean region, so Matsumura-san is involved in the DRR activities in Caribbean region, and he is going to talk about their educational programs in collaboration with JICA. That is, I'd like asking him to share with us. And also, the Matsumura-san is directly involved in this program. Therefore, I would like to ask him his opinions and views based on his experience. Thank you very much, Mr. Takamatsu. This is Matsumura from JICA. So, as Mr. Takamatsu mentioned, the speakers so far have shared with us their initiatives in Japan, but now I'd like to give you a little bit different perspective. Especially, Japan has accumulated lessons and knowledge we learned from the past incidents, and we are trying to share that with other countries. So when it comes to Caribbean regions, maybe you are not familiar with this region, so I'd like to show you a map of Caribbean region. So this is just in between North and South American continent. There are many islands. So my office of the CIDEMA is located in one of those 20 countries. So CIDEMA is an organization that's coordinate DLR activities among those 20 countries for the recovery or response to disasters. And also, when there's no such disaster, they also coordinate different training session educations. And also their cold country, their population is as much as like 1 million or so. So it's just like a prefecture or city of Japan if you compare. However, there are many resort areas which are very popular among wealthy people. And tourism is very important in that regard. However, this region is prone to and also vulnerable to hurricanes and other meteorological events. This shows the past history of hurricanes over the last 50 years or so. So large-scale hurricane hit this region every year. And this year, in July, Hurricane Vero, Category 5 hurricane hit this region. So St. Vincent, Grenada, Jamaica, they suffered a huge damage like this. And their land area is not that large. Therefore, once they are hit by a hurricane, it's make an economic loss equivalent to 1 year of GDP or so. So recovery from such a big impact is quite difficult. So every time they're hit by a disaster like this one, then government basically run out of the resources that they can spend for education, healthcare, and others at government level. So they are very prone to such a disaster due to natural hazard. And Japan is also prone to those natural hazards. Because of this background, we began our activities in this region, providing training and educations for the risk management. In Jamaica, the Bartlett, the Minister of Tourism, is well known in the tourism industry. This is a leading figure. In 2018, in Caribbean region, there is a Western Indian University. They have 3 schools, 3 campuses. One is Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, and Barbados. But in the Jamaican school, they have Global Tourism Resilience Crisis Management Center, quite lengthy name, DDMTRC. So they have such a center, and then that was established in 2018. And in 2020, as you know, because of the COVID-19, tourism sector was heavily damaged, and therefore pandemic as well as disasters. How to minimize an impact from those events, and how they can increase their resilience in the recovery from those incidents. So they collaborate among their regions, and so Bartlett and also Jamaican government, they call Global Tourism Resilience Day, February 17, and that was adopted by the UN Congress. And also a Global Tourism Resilience Conference was organized in Jamaica on the same year. Therefore, Jamaican government and also Minister Bartlett are leading tourism resilience, not in this region but globally. So here, in 2022, we were invited by the Jamaican government. So there was a request from Jamaican government to Japanese government to provide assistance in tourism resilience and crisis management. Therefore, together with this center, GTRCNC, we became involved in providing training and education. February this year, we had a session for preparedness to assess the possible risks and also the recovery after the crisis hit, as Ms. Matsuoka mentioned already. So this is a basic framework of the Sendai framework for DRR. So when there is a disaster, then impact from that to the tourism must be assessed beforehand, and once it's hit, they need to continue their business while protecting tourists. So that is a topic that we discussed in February session. So this is basically basic training for BCP. So once again, in February training, Barbados, Dominica, Guyana, St. Kitts, Hart Nevis, Trinidad, Tobago, Jamaica. So from those countries, we have invited those who are involved in tourism, and also the people from UN Tourism, and also the Tourism Association in the Caribbean region. So this training was joined by many different stakeholders, and also from viewpoint of DRR, so crisis management, especially private sector, local governments, a role of national government or local government and private sectors, as we discussed already. There's always something unexpected that usually happens. Therefore, we all assume that there's an unknown that may happen. So for that, we focus on system as well as the human resources for the resilience and also financial resources. In order to accelerate their recovery, they need to be able to access some financial resources. So there must be such kind of scheme. And also we talked about AI or advanced technology and traditional technologies. So they need mobilize all of those technology available in order to improve their resilience. And in 2025, February next year, we are going to organize the second session. So the next session, we will take an example of Hurricane Beryl of Jamaica. The Jamaican government had a BCP already. Therefore, we are going to examine how that BCP worked or didn't work in the event of the hurricane. So based on that, we are going to teach them their effective BCP implementation. So given this opportunity, I'd like to learn from you for us to take advantage of what I learned from this session into our future trainings. So in the picture, you had a picture of discussion. What were you doing in that picture? Would you please elaborate? So I guess that was the picture of a group work inviting operators. Yes, at the lower left. Yes, in this discussion, we discussed about the challenges of each country, and especially depending on the viewpoint of different stakeholder or organization or region that they belong to. So we discuss about specific issues and challenges, and then we discuss what preparation will be necessary depending on the specifics. So this is a picture taken when we were discussing that topic, especially as being already explained before. So here is the damage due to disinformation or misinformation, how we're going to deal with it. And also, in the case of the Caribbean region, there are many foreign tourists through airports. Therefore, how they can bring them back to their own countries. So that is one of the topics that we discuss in this workshop. Yeah, that's all. Thank you. Thank you very much.
それぞれ違いますけども、
So they are from different countries. However, first they need to assess the risks. By doing so, they might be able to find commonalities and also common solutions. Thank you very much.
ということでですね、
Okay, now under panel discussion 2, we heard from different perspectives, from different backgrounds from 3 panels. We also heard from 4 panels discussions. Now, the very last closure, should I say? Because we heard about 2 different sets of panels. We talked, has been discussing about BCP Maria-san, who is expert of your BCP. From your perspective, what would be the unique characteristic? What make it different in terms of building BCP for other sectors like manufacturer, retailers? How the tourism industries makes it different? What are unique? Based on that difference, what are the things that we need to be doing in a normal time to be more effective and business continuity plan from your professional perspective? Yes, very well. Then let me just start off with this photo. And this is has been discussed in panel number 1 too. This is west side entrance of Sendai City, and 12,000 people could not go back to their homes. Why so many of them? 12,000 of them could not go home. And why is it a problem? Because a lot of people say Japan is very mature, advanced in disaster reaction, but we got only better because many mistakes in the past. What mistakes? I hate to say that in front of JR. There was a damage within the building station, so there's no option but to have them outside of the station. But there were because it's like risky if they stayed there. But there were underground facilities. JR decided to put everybody outside of the building, irrespective of where the space is safe or not. That's why we have those so-called chaotic situations. The reason why they pushed out is if people are there within the space, if the new aftershock comes in, something falls down and a damage spread, maybe they will be responsible for somebody's physical being. Therefore, as a private businesses, you are incentivized to push people out. But if you do that, this is the kind of situation that you have to experience with. What happened to them is like we had no choice but to guide them, escort them to local elementary school. But local elementary school were hosting local communities too. But these people were pushing them out. The situation becomes unfriendly. There were almost like some risk of fist fight, because they'll be most possibly fighting over the finite amounts of supplies that's available on those shelves. What we are doing right now is the businesses around the station will be in big trouble if they start to go wild. Therefore, we are inviting private businesses in the local communities to help and come together so that we don't do that again. In the city, the station of Sendai didn't have rule about what would happen, what to do with those people who cannot go back home, because that was a big mistake. That's why we are now having extended drilling, not to repeat this mistake. JR East did that not only in Sendai Station, Tokyo Station too. People pushed stations, the railway companies were criticized because they pushed everything out. Now, city of Sendai is doing most advanced drill only after the mistake. But my message is there's a learning from mistakes. But it's important to do that in DRR. But BCC, Business Continuity Plans, is also the hard lessons learned from past mistakes. Because mistakes will give you an idea of what to do better. And you put the plan together not to repeat the problems. But then what do we need to do? And we are thinking about that. But in the tourism industry, BCP will be, in my honest opinion, be very difficult to come by in tourism industry. Why? Many of the businesses are SMEs. In Japan, doesn't matter which sectors, like a BCP is established for BCP is for SMEs, less than 20% for SMEs in Japan, across all the sectors. So the industry with many SMEs, small to medium enterprises, are very difficult to adopt BCP, as the chair has described as the reason. It's very difficult to implement for small to medium size. But there's another reason. This goes to third reason the chairperson speak. There's no request from business partners, right? If you are selling to a business, your customer's business, the supplier if the supplier cannot sustain, then you will fall as a business, right? It's like a domino. But the tourism industry's business is mostly consumers. Consumer do not make that request as a collective group, right? Retailers may be similar. Those industry, there's no pressure, no strong request from suppliers or their enterprise customers, which make it a BCP journey a little more difficult. So we have to work very hard to elevate the better. But there are many different programs, initiative with many different experts and engaged stakeholders, which is wonderful. But can we do better than manufacturer? Manufacturer comes with very rich suppliers. Customers has a huge pressure. They will impose the pressure because they will not be able to sell. But this is a very different environment for tourism industry. The other thing is during the COVID, it becomes much clear during COVID, BCP it's not demand, it's a supply. Supply gets impacted because of the damage. Many of the BCPs trying to overcome the supply problem with many mistakes in the past. So the lower supplies because of the damage, because the building, factories could not be working. People cannot, or power's down, water is not coming in, resource cannot be supplied. These are the constraints on supplies. But for tourism to continue its business, bigger impact is happening not from supply but from demand. Reduction in demand, right? How can one business drive demand? It's very difficult. It was a huge issue for Japan during COVID. In other countries, people has to be locked down. Business could not invite the employees back. But at factory, offices, they were not being able to. So it was a constraint in overseas or mostly on supply. But in Japan, in Japanese market, even before the supply constraint happened, the industry, tourism included, right? The demand impact from demand was much bigger. And the tourism industries, we had more people who are looking for jobs. When we have more supplies than demand, and now in the tourism, let's say restaurants is also another example. They decided to send people to other sectors, like airports, right? Airlines. They have many employees who are not doing any job. Therefore, they send people to other sector to overcome that challenge. But then, does it help tourism industry to recover? Not quite so, right? Therefore, we have to come up with different initiatives to drive demand. Now, JR friend discussed about program and also tourism agencies, PR, running campaign. That is the only thing is driving the demand. But is one single company be able to do that, driving the demand? That's very difficult, right? That's the very unique challenge. But then at the same time, we have to do something about it. But then there's one idea I'd like to propose to all of you, where this is also covering this hard to, people who cannot go back home. One of the things is are we seriously protecting people, the safety? Because if we do a good job in protecting safety, this can give confidence for people to come back. So are we sincere in putting the safety together? By the way, it doesn't cost money because it's a seriousness. It's your emotion. It's how you mindset. Think about, at the end of the panel one, talk about what's important is people. It's the question of, do people doing good job on that protecting safety or not? Let's say meteorological agency system, information was provided. But city of Sendai, they did the drills, including saving the foreigners. There were interpreters, volunteer interpreters, foreigner ask questions. Now, interpreter understand the question, but he doesn't know the answer. Therefore, interpreter cannot give the right information. But if another person, another expert, if somebody can sincerely explain what's going on, this will not work, right? So sincerity, everybody engaged to the process to help customer, because if you have hotel, this person have already checked out, and the reaction of the hotel, right? Do you want to accept the former customer or not? Your reaction as a hotel can make a day and night difference in terms of whether you help former customer or reject helping that person. I'm not sure if it should be documented in a guideline, but it's about essentially be people. People would be a critical thing. The other thing is about communication technology. In order to have an emergency action, if you're going to get in touch with somebody, you will not be able to make a call. After the blackout, communication becomes even more difficult. But what I am telling many of the SMEs is, why not use Wi-Fi, right? If the mobile network is not available, maybe you walk to where the Wi-Fi is available. Well, so during the earthquake. Great East earthquake, Wi-Fi was not being discussed, but east side was damaged by tsunami. They went to the west side, right? So if you were to go to the hill, go to the west, once you can make a call, then you make a call to the trading house in the Tokyo to get the sourcing from your business materials. This is a best practice because there are many ways to get connected with the communication networks. That's another thing that can be implemented as a specific solution. So first proposal is people. People needs to be sincere, and also telecommunication. And if the BCP cannot be perfect, but the telecommunication is an important piece of BCP. And lastly, if BCP for tourism may not be perfect, at least the important piece should be able to be shared. Without that, other industries were having BCP problems. But just as other sectors has done, maybe you should work on pieces if you cannot do everything. Well, thank you very much, Maria-san. So Maria-san now shared us the last proposal, right? Sincere approach to your customer. And so let's say it's not customer for the tourism services, right? During the Great East Japan, one of the Tokyo hotel in Tokyo, the customers, actually hotel accepted not only the customers, but the regular people on street who lost on the street. More than 1,000 people were hosted in the hospital, but there were a lot of tweets. Right? It's cold. They have nowhere else to go. Wow, this wonderful hotel is welcoming me. This hotel is wonderful. This hotel established and improved that brand equity. By the way, happens to be, and I happen to be a friend with the general manager of the hotel, and I said, wow, hats off, wonderful job. And he said, Takamatsu-san, I was actually not instructing that. It's not my instruction. My staff went ahead and did that anyway, very happily, smiling. But why? Like they did that without instruction. But that's hotel. Hotel is a collection of people who can do something like that. That's what he said. Now, talking about telecommunication, access to communication, access to power. In Hokkaido Iburi earthquake in Sapporo City, one of the hotels was the emergency power generation was only used for like an urgent matter, but they decided to reroute the emergency generation, power generated to the regular power supplies, so the regular people can power their smartphones. People are very happy with it. Ever since they made it a rule. But as Mariam-san, as you have pointed out, I think there were great best practices that are more advanced. If this spread more widely, I think there's a good learning benchmarking about emergency responses for tourism, and that will give us better resiliency. Well, thank you very much for panels in their presentation. Each one of them comes with many different insights. In part 2, people talked very passionately. Therefore, we are running out of time. I hate to ask you, but I'd like to ask you to go very briefly about your reaction to the other panels, very briefly for a comment for one person, starting off with Uchiyama-san.
はい、私が思った
So what I thought was that in normal times, I think this is about the accumulation of what we do in normal times. We can't do something else than what we do in normal times. Therefore, if you're successful at the time of disaster, you must have accumulated basically knowledge regarding how to deal with it. You can dramatically improve your readiness, but we need to take a step-by-step approach.
はい、
And South-san, yes, thank you very much. And so one of the good learning from the disaster is people and things needs to be motivated and drive. These are the driving factors, right? So going out, staying at accommodation, enjoying going out eating. This itself can help recovery process hugely. And now, if in case of that event, in order for us to be able to react very quickly, as Uchiyama-san has said, can we do those actions under normalcy and also universally? So do it normally during a normal time, constantly, universally. I think the country who can do that will give the big resiliency, in my personal view. So we need to constantly go out, love tourism, people who love tourism, not talking about only Japanese people, but having that sentiment in the nation will give us resiliency. Thank you very much. Thank you.
では松村さんお願いします。
Okay, next, Matsumura-san. Thank you very much. I was able to listen to a lot of examples and I learned a lot. And many presenters say that at the end of the day, it's about people. And Matsuoka said in the beginning, the DLR culture must be well accepted, whatever sector you belong to. That is very important. And in order to do so in normal times, you have to assess the disaster risks, and you need to prepare for that, and you need to mitigate such risks. So this is a very basic of DLR. So you must be prepared in normal times, and that needs to be a common theme going beyond any national borders or so. But thank you very much for this opportunity.
では
Thank you very much. And Dr. Maria, please. Yes, when we want to react to that disaster, you do not know how much damage might be caused. Therefore, a lot of times, not all the time, but it could be a problem not knowing how much damage is being imposed. But for the tourism industry, how much damage is being imposed in a hotel, in a building. There are things that you may not know because you do not know everything, but you have to take it as a range. And then under the normalcy, if your building is not working, you may want to ask somebody to help. If another building is under damage, you might want to go extend your help. It's collaboration. When the damage levels are different, then you can protect collectively. Or within the same hotel or the it's not only about a hotel or destination, because there are other sectors, related sectors in railways industry. If anybody's in trouble in front of you, somebody has to go out and extend help, and we need to pass down the torch from one to another during the earthquake, and also beyond the sectors, including the public sectors. If we can collaborate, if there's somebody in trouble in front of you, you have to do something. And we can talk about that, talking about helping each other under normalcy. And government needs to maybe put some guidance, or the tourism association can maybe push the back. And as this is a request to all of you after listening to all the presentations. Thank you.
団体事業者
So thank you very much. Collaboration among government and private sectors and tourism operators in order to improve the resilience in tourism. Yeah, thank you very much. Now I would like to wrap up the two panel sessions once again. Please join me in giving a big hand to all the panelists. Now let me turn over to our MC.
Matsu and all the panelists, please come down from the stage. Now, as a summary of this symposium, Ms. Chiaki Oya, Deputy Chief, UN Tourism Regional Support Office for Asia and the Pacific, will deliver a closing remark, if you please.
First of all, thank you very much for joining us for this Symposium of Tourism Resilience, taking time out of your busy schedule. The Excellency who invited to this ministerial meeting and all other delegates, thank you very much for coming and joining us for the symposium. And also the Tohoku Bureau of Transport and also the city of Sendai. I'd like to appreciate their effort in organizing this symposium. So we are able to welcome many people from different sectors, not just from tourism sectors and local government. Sendai was hit by the great earthquake and they recovered from that earthquake, and Sendai is where that very important framework was established. So in this particular location, we were able to convene meeting, inviting people from tourism and also people from the DRR sector. I believe this is very meaningful and significant meeting. So tourism resilience, in order to achieve a sustainable tourism, resilience is very important, especially crisis management and DRR. So in these areas, that is basically invisible from tourists in normal times. Therefore, tourist destinations and tourists and operators, there are not so much motivation for them to engage in such activities. However, listening to the speakers and panelists in this symposium, they give us the three major messages from my viewpoint. First is when the disaster happens. If you look at the cost when the disaster happens, and also the reputation from the tourist. If you look at that, the crisis management and resilience in tourism and the overall cost of those are not really a cost, it's about investment. And second point, that before the crisis, they need to assess the risks and they need to mitigate the risks to be materialized. They need to minimize the impact. Therefore, the readiness is very important. The readiness must be there at each operator level. And number three is that the regions and sectors, they have to collaborate among different regions and different sectors. First panel discussion, there was experience shared from Kagaya, who shared with us their experience, and they basically are very successful bringing their guests back to their home based on the drills they had 1 month ago. And in the panel discussion, they discussed about business continuity in tourism. So that is a bit different from other sectors. They need to prepare for the job of demand. There's only limited things what one operator can do. And for this situation, at the time of crisis, of course, they need to collaborate with different stakeholders. However, in the process of recovery and also in driving demand, they need to collaborate among the industry or beyond their industry. And lastly, we have learned from the presentations, and so Mr. Takamatsu, thank you very much for being a moderator for those panel sessions. And also I'd like to thank Ms. Matsuoka, and also I'd like to thank all the panelists for giving us a lot of insights to us. And Mr. Matsumura came all over from different side of the earth. And also Matsumura-san, thank you very much for joining us from disaster hit areas. So once again, I'd like to ask you to join me in giving them a big hand. In Wakura Hot Spring, I know there are many people who work at the hotels and ryokan and help the guests for their safety, and the tourism is actually a driver for recovery in the Noto Peninsula. Therefore, I'd like to ask for your continued support and cooperation to Noto Peninsula or Noto region. And I hope this symposium was a good opportunity for you to deepen your understanding about tourism resilience before we have the ministerial meeting tomorrow. So with this, I'd like to close this symposium. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Oya. And with that, we would like to conclude the Symposium on Tourism Resilience Summit. Once again, thank you so much for your attendance. And we will be handing out the questionnaire, and we appreciate your cooperation in filling. Your opinion will be valuable in planning the future symposium. So please be sure you have all your belongings with you as you leave. And once again, thank you so much for your participation. Arigato.